and the D2 Industrial. This is mostly coming up for one of two reasons. One, people have been asking, what's the deal with the D2 Industrial in the first place? And I've recorded some other videos for kind of breaking down the odds and ends, but I figure here we could field some questions and also just kind of talk a little bit more in depth about what certain things mean when we were saying like specialty firmware and stuff like that. So we can take those questions, we can talk about that kind of stuff, really kind of just dive deep between the two, because honestly, the D2 Industrial isn't really made for anything that I do. So for me to just sit here and hang on to it doesn't make any sense. So I'm gonna send that bad boy back to Profoto here soon. So that's why I wanted to make this video, so it existed, so we could talk about it, and then I can mail this bad boy back. What's going on? We're cashing up. It's okay, we'll be fine. We'll just keep on going. So first and foremost, if you look at the D2 versus the D2i, let me slide them side by side. The thing that you're gonna notice is they look pretty darn similar, and for the most part they are, especially physically. Bring this one up here so you can kind of see. So body design wise, they're the same. They have the same, same knuckle, the same stand mount, the same overall body. Aesthetically, they're almost identical. The only thing that's going to differentiate the fact that it's an industrial versus a normal D2 is going to be like right here on the side where it says D2 Industrial. It says it, yeah, I was pointing at D2 Industrial right there. And then on the back of it, it says D2 Industrial. So you may ask yourself why in the world we built a D2 Industrial. And it simply comes down to the fact that there are some types of studios out there that do a lot of really high volume, high output style photography, houses that are just running through tons and tons of products, or catalog houses and stuff like that, who need to take thousands and thousands and thousands of photos daily. Some of these places even run all the way through the night. So they need to be able to just take tons and tons of photos. Repeatability is the name of the game, and just getting it in and out. They don't need bells and whistles. They just need the light to work. And that's what the D2 is. It's got specialty firmware inside of it. We stripped out a lot of the things that those types of facilities don't need in a flash to bolster some other things on the inside and make it handle that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But that's what the whole premise of the D2i is. So someone may ask themselves, should I get a D2i or should I get a D2? Answer those questions. Do you need a workhorse light that really does one thing really, really well? And that's repeatability, color consistency, power consistency over and over and over again, thousands of times a day. If that's what you need, then maybe this is what you want. For the most part, the vast majority of photographers the D2 is the jam. It's still one of my favorite lights we make. It does a lot of really, really cool stuff that I think is pretty fantastic. So, like I said, from the outside, they look the same. And for the most part, that's kind of where the similarities end with them. Once again, so the D2i is gonna have some things taken out of it that the D2 has in order to bolster some of the insides. So first and foremost, the D2i does not have TTL or high-speed sync. That is not, those systems are not in this flash. No matter what trigger you use, it will not work. And that's because we wanted to, once again, bolster some of the insides and change out some of the circuitry. And taking out TTL and high-speed sync, we were able to do a little bit more of that kind of stuff. The D2i also has a lot of specialty firmware inside of it. By a lot of, I mean, it just has specialty firmware. Things that can count how many flashes have been fired off and give you a notification of when that flash needs to be serviced and stuff like that. And all that stuff is here inside the settings menu. So like if you turn on the setting, the D2 has a special settings menu as well. So you can get to it with the D2 and the D2i. When you look at the D2i, you hold down the settings button for about 5 seconds. It flips over to this menu right here, and you can go in here, you can click like unit info, and it tells you how many what's the flash count on this flash, how many more flashes you have until this thing needs to go to service. And then it's the same other stuff. It tells you how many times there's been a service reset. So like you will have a count of how many times this unit has been serviced, as well as the runtime of the unit. So how long it's been on, and then also the firmware of the unit. So that's kind of cool stuff. Just to, like I said, a whole service area inside this flash, just so you can kind of monitor all the stuff that's going on, because once again, when you're firing that many flashes a day and you're shooting that much stuff a day, you need to know what's going on with that stuff. We're probably gonna have a little visitor. Yeah.
Honey, they're alive right now.
Yeah, my daughter's mad at my son, so she's in here hanging out with us. Anyway, so we're gonna go back to we're gonna go back out of this thing, and so here you still have a lot of the same stuff that you have with your D2, your speed control, your display flip, and your auto on. It just has a couple of extra things in there for monitoring it for those high volume situations. Very, very cool stuff. But once again, if you go onto the inside of this thing, let's see, into the regular settings, you still have a lot of the exact same stuff. Your ready signals, your modeling lamp controls, your modes. This still has a normal and a freeze mode. Hey, honey buns, can you go over there and hang out with mom? Thank you so much. It has still your same syncing method. So it has your air syncing. It has your the ability to trigger optically, or you can plug into it. And then once again, you still have your air controls channels 1 through 20, groups A through F. So you have all that stuff. So for the most part, the menu system there is the same. Once again, you just have that specialty firmware that's in there to make sure that you are good to go there. Rock and roll. So let's slide this D2i out of the way. Plug in this D2, use the same cable just because it keeps cables from being all over them. And once again, this is actually going to be more of the flash that most people are going to use. This is just the D2. Oh, the other thing to note about the D2i. The D2i only comes in one flavor. You can only get it in a 1000 watt second unit. You know what? I'm jumping ahead of myself. There's a couple of things I didn't talk about on the D2i. So let's start with the 1000 watt seconds. So the D2i, you only get in a 1000 watt second flavor. So it's got a lot of power. The D2 1000 also has a lot of power. So but 1000 watts only, whereas the D2 is going to give you the 500 watt and the 1000 watt variant. The other big thing in the D2i that you get is the quartz flash tube ships with the flash head itself. So you get the beefier flash tube as opposed to the Pyrex, the normal Pyrex flash tube that you would get with the D2. One thing to note, you can put the flash tube for the, hey honey buns, could you go hang out over here next to mom? Thank you so much. You can put that quartz flash tube into the D2 and get those same flash tube same flash tube life out of the D2 that you get with the D2i. It's about 4 times the flash life. So that's kind of the difference between your quartz and your normal Pyrex glass tubes. So once again, 1000 watts, quartz flash tube with it. So those are some of the, so a lot of people would see the price difference between the D2i and the D2 1000, and you wonder what it is that makes up that. Once again, a lot of it's going to have to do with the beefier insides. It's going to have to do with the quartz flash tubes. They're a little more expensive. The other thing that we try to do with the D2is is have, depending on whoever we're working with, it's got a priority repair time. So if something happens to it, it has a little bit higher priority to get turned around quicker. It's just part of the premium that you pay for the service that you get with this flash. It's one of the things we tied onto it. So once again, quartz flash tube, 1000 watts only, sweet. And then specialty firmware, all that good stuff. High volume shooting. Whereas you have your D2, this is your workhorse flash. This is the one that, once again, 99% of photographers, this is the light that you're gonna want. Once again, TTL high speed sync, so it has the ability to shoot with your faster shutter speeds if you would like to. And then you still have all that same control. So once again, the flash heads look the exact same. Other than the badging, they look the exact same. So you can see right here on the back of this one, it's the same. Once again, they control the same. You still have the same settings menu. Pretty much all the stuff in here is verbatim to the D2i. So that stuff is familiar. The only place where it's going to get a little bit different is once you go into the specialty settings menu. You can go in here. This doesn't have that specialty firmware that gives you like your flash counts, how many hours the flash head's been running, stuff like that. So this is still has your display flip if you want. You have your speed control, you have your auto on in here, and then you have the ability to reset. So
it'd be easier to see if it were a little bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really. I mean, I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy to show it to you. It's not really anything that you know what? I'll show it to you with the D2i because that's probably you'd like to see what I'm talking about there a little bit more. It's really just a menu that talks about, you know, all the guts and internal stuff. This just gets a little bit tougher because I've got a cable now. We're not wireless. It's the only downside to something like the D2 is we're not all wireless like we are with the. Here we go. So. Yeah, I'm trying to look so I can raise it up too and see if I can get it there. I might have to flip over to manual focus.
There we go.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So cool. So once again, you click into the special settings, you hold down the settings button like this, and you can see all this info. So this is what I was talking about with the unit info. So right here, it tells you your flash count. I've only ever triggered this thing one time, and that was just to trigger it one time. I'm trying to, because this will go back and it'll be sold to somebody, so I want to maintain the life on this thing. So once again, it shows you how many flashes to your next service. This one has 99,999 more flashes before this thing has to go to service. So you can tell, you know, how this thing is supposed to be used. Service resets, none. Runtime, 1 hour. Firmware, A3. And then right up under there, it's got your serial number. So you have that information. Sweet. And then you go right to, let's see. So right here, I'm not gonna do this because it has a count on those resets, but you see it says reset service indication. So that's where that kind of stuff would be done. And then you do a factory reset, it just zeroes out the whole flash. So kind of cool stuff. So let me see if y'all have any questions for me. I'm gonna move this thing out of the way. Once again, this isn't a really super intense live. It's just, this is information that I wanna have out here for people who are thinking they might want to buy a D2i or they might want to get a D2. So let's see, questions. Hey everybody, hey. What's up everybody? Oh, help on the care. Yeah, Greg, I'm glad, hopefully if it hasn't gotten to you already, it gets to you pretty quick. I'm glad we were able to get you taken care of. Finally, I'm on time. Yeah, you're here, Ashley. Let's see. Sweet, love the Profoto lights, nice to see you again, cool. Well, once again, I figured there's probably not a ton of questions with this stuff because it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. You said you missed the beginning. Quick summary of D2 versus D2i differences again. Yeah, totally. So let's just break it down right here before we're getting ready to end this Facebook Live for the day. So put them side by side so we can talk about this again. So D2i, D2, cool. So your D2 is going to come in two power configurations. You have a 500 watt and you have a 1000 watt power configuration that you can purchase the D2 in. The D2i only comes in 1000 watts. So 1000 watts is what you get. Next thing you're going to get is you're going to get a quartz flash tube inside the D2i. This is going to give you 4 times the flash life, whereas the Pyrex flash tube doesn't give you quite as long as the quartz. Upside for a D2 user, if you would like a quartz flash tube, that is available for purchase after the fact. So if you still love the idea of having TTL and high-speed sync and all that good stuff, but you really like the idea, maybe you use the heck out of your D2 and your flash tube goes out and it's time to buy a new one, you just can say, hey, I'll get the quartz and get the 4 times the life out of it. So you can put that quartz tube in here. With that being said, and saying that right there, one of the other big differences is TTL high-speed sync, no TTL high-speed sync. So the D2i, we took a lot of the things that the high volume, high output type studios didn't need out of this flash to bolster, you know, all the things that we need, like, you know, better capacitors, better circuitry to make sure that these can just repeat, flash, thousands of times a day.
Did you already say, can you get the quartz for the D1s?
I'm pretty sure you can get a quartz for the D1s. If you'll give me a second while we're chatting, I'll look it up on the thing and see if that's an option. But I feel like you could, but I don't want to misspeak.
And then what is the lifespan of the flash tube, the Pyrex?
So the flash count of the D2 Industrial before it wants you to go in and have it serviced, and this one is once again is going to depend on how hard if you're firing this thing at full power. But this has a 100,000 flash count before it needs to go to service. So it depends on how hard you use the flash. It's one of those things that's almost impossible to tell. You know, what is the environment that you're shooting in? Are you in an environment that is climate controlled and that never changes, all those variables matter. But I can tell you that at 100,000 flashes is when the D2i needs to be sent in for service to just kind of make sure everything's tuned up to par. But the main thing to remember with a quartz flash tube is you get about 4 times the flashes that you would normally get from a regular Pyrex flash tube. So there's that. Just understand that because you're getting more flashes out of the flash tube does cost more. It's made out of a little bit more hardcore stuff. So you have to remember that it's about twice the price. If I'm not mistaken, it's about twice the price on the flash tube to go to quartz. So if you know that you shoot a lot and you want to make sure that you have that long life on the flash tube, maybe quartz is the place you want to go with that. So once again, D2i, no TTL, no high-speed sync because of the circuitry that's inside of it to handle tons of repetitions, lots of flashes, day in and day out. D2, TTL high-speed sync, all those things that you love about a lot of the newer Profoto flashes in this thing, only now it plugs in. Both flash durations are incredibly fast. I believe it's 1/63,000th of a second flash duration on the D2i T05 number. Let me double check because I'm gonna also pull up the other thing here in a second. Yeah, 1/63,000th of a second. And then same thing, the D2s can also go up to 1/63,000th of a second flash durations, T05. So really, really cool stuff there. So speed-wise, they're both pretty quick. The recycle times right on par with one another. I know that the 500 watt D2 recycles in about half a second. Is this one still? So just checking my recycle time. It's one of the things I forgot to look into with the D2i, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty dang fast. Let's see. Just because I want to know now. Oh, recycle time, yeah, 1.2 seconds. So they're very, very, very much the same. So D2 and D2i recycle speeds the same. Cool stuff.
Jeremy has a question about the B series.
We'll talk about B series in just a second. Let's finish breaking down the D series. So once again, in a nutshell, quartz flash tube, heavy duty circuitry, no TTL, no high speed sync, and specialty firmware for managing your flashes and stuff like that inside the D2i. D2 is going to have your TTL, your high-speed sync. It's going to ship with your Pyrex flash tube, which is you still get a lot of life out of. So don't just think to yourself, I need to go get a quartz flash tube, because that's not generally the case. There's not a lot of people who need a quartz flash tube, and so it's the reason that we put a Pyrex flash tube inside the D2. So, but for the most part, the body configuration is the exact same. Controls are the exact same. The special settings menu in the same place, access the same way by holding down the settings button for about 5 seconds. So really, really easy stuff. So once again, this is made for high volume, high output studios. This is made for pretty much 99% of every other photographer that's out there. This is probably the flash that, like I said, the majority of people are gonna need. Whereas this right here is very, very specialty. So just know that if you see the D2i, you're like, oh, you know, the industrial intrigues me. Just know that what you're getting and what you're not getting. So if TTL and high-speed sync is something that you use in your workflow, this is not gonna do that. But if you know that you're shooting thousands of shots a day of the same scene over and over and over again, maybe the D2i is the flash for you. So I'm gonna roll these out of the way, check a couple more questions, and then say adios for the rest of the week. Let's see. Get my laptop in here. Let's see what we got. Oh, so someone asked about the B. Okay, do other lights, i.e. the B series, need to go into service for specific miles or shots? If so, where can that be found? So not that I know of. It's honestly, if they go down, that's when you could send it in. I mean, you're probably always more than welcome to send it in to have it checked out, but I don't necessarily know that it matters that much. The only things that I can think that you would need to send your flash in, depending on what B series you have, if it's like a B10, is if your flash tube goes out. Then you have to send that into service to have a new flash tube. But I wouldn't think, I've had, you know, original B10s forever. I've flashed the heck out of them. I've never even once considered sending them into our service center. So I would say no. Like I said, that service count number was made specifically for like the Amazons of the world or like the Zappos. You know, people think about all those products being photographed every single day. They just want to have some idea of where they are before they need to, because for them, they always have to have all their bays open all the time. So they need to know when they need to trade something out to send it in. So that's kind of what this, it's just kind of a visual representation for those studios to know, hey, it's time to send this bad boy in. So the B series, I wouldn't worry about too much. Is the quartz more durable for hot to cold or cold to hot temperature studios? I don't know. I just know that it is a little more robust flash tube. It's meant to handle a lot more flashes. I don't know if the temperature variations matter with that as much. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, brother. Same modifiers. Do they both support the same weight? Yes, yeah. Same thing. No OCF modifiers unless you're talking about the OCF Magnum or the OCF Zoom, the metal modifiers. But the same 100 millimeter mount, same weight rating. They both can accept the same. Like if you wanted to throw, you're fine. If you wanted to throw the dome attachment onto either of them, you can. It accepts both of them, so you're good there. So yes, same modifiers and all that stuff. RFI stuff, all of our hard reflectors, that kind of stuff, absolutely. Today was the first I heard about a specific flash count going into service, like mileage kind of thing. Much appreciated, no problem. Sweet, yeah. And once again, it was just, it's there for the studios who need to make sure that if they need to pull a flash down to put another flash up while it goes to service, they can see that visually. So cool. Once again, this wasn't supposed to be anything groundbreaking. I wanted to make sure that you all had the information whenever it comes down to, whenever you go to the Profoto website and you see a D2 Industrial and you're like, what in the world is this thing? That's what it is. High volume, high output, no TTL, a little more beefy insides, specialty firmware for monitoring the life of your flash, and a quartz flash tube, right? Easy stuff. Once again, the D2 is, and it only comes in 1000 watts, whereas the D2, you have 500 and 1000 watt variations. TTL and high speed sync, this will be the flash that most people buy. And it's a great flash. My D2 has taken an absolute beating and it still works just fine. So let's see. Anything else? When a B10 plus 1000 watts, hey, you probably know as best as I do, but would I like to see it? I would love to see a 1000 watt B10. I can only imagine how large a B10 1000 watt would be. Hopefully not too, I mean, because the size difference between a B10 and a B10 plus isn't huge. Who knows? A lot of the times, the things that keep flashes from going from one size to the other is the actual, what physically it will be at the end of that. So there could be some logistic thing on the inside that doesn't let us make a B10 1000 in a way that you would actually want to carry it around. So, but I'll still tell the people who develop the stuff that more people are asking for 1000 watt battery powered flashes. So cool. Thank you all so much. I hope you had an awesome time hanging out with Kate and I. What was that weird glitch?
I don't know. Sometimes you go robotic.
My camera's being a robot. I saw myself being a robot for a second. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us this week. It's been super fun. Once again, D2, D2i. Oh, hold on a second. For all of us taking planes, size and weight matters. Totally get it. Totally 100% understand that. So, I'm still roboting.
Yeah.
My camera's not very happy right now.
I know.
That's weird. The audio should be good. I'm apparently in the Matrix. So hopefully you have an awesome weekend. Let us know if we can answer any other questions for you. Hit me up anytime. Thank you so much for kicking it with us. Have a great weekend. Peace out.